How America Could Collapse. Billionaires' Predictions. In 1991, the USSR collapsed. The empire that controlled half the world disappeared practically overnight. What if you wake up tomorrow and your bank card doesn't work? The dollar has depreciated, supermarkets are empty, and the government has declared a state of emergency. Sounds like a disaster movie script? Here's what the people who have built billion-dollar fortunes on the American economy have to say. Warren Buffett. Unlike most optimists, I see serious risks to the American economy. We have reached a point where the accumulated problems are starting to snowball. Bill Gates. We are sitting on a powder keg, and the fuse is already burning. Systemic risks are growing faster than the economy's ability to adapt. Why are billionaires secretly buying up New Zealand hideaways? How can $37 trillion in debt destroy America in a month? What will happen to your savings in the first 30 days of the crisis? At the end of the video is a detailed scenario of the first 30 days of the American collapse, based on the calculations of economist Ray Dalio, who predicted the 2008 crisis. Ready to take a look behind the scenes of the global economy and see the future that is being hidden from us? Let's go. To understand how real the threat of collapse of the American economy is, let us first remember how the United States achieved such power. After World War II, when Europe and Asia lay in ruins, America was the only developed country with its industry intact. The dollar became the world currency thanks to the Bretton Woods system of 1944. The world began to hoard dollars as the new gold. Think of the U.S. economy as a giant pyramid. At its base are several critical blocks: trust in the dollar, technological leadership, military superiority, and a consumer economy. What happens if a few blocks from this foundation suddenly disappear? How long do you think it will take for the U.S. economy to completely collapse? It will never happen. 10+ years, 5 to 10 years, less than 5 years, it's already happening. Write your opinion in the comments. At the end of the video, we will compare it with analysts' forecasts. History knows many examples of great powers believing themselves to be eternal. The Roman Empire lasted 500 years before collapsing. The British Empire controlled a quarter of the globe, but within 50 years it had become a small island off the coast of Europe. 5 threats to the American economy. Debt crisis. Imagine spending twice as much as you earn each month. First small loans, then large ones, then loans to pay off the interest on the old loans. How long can this go on? John from Michigan lived like this for 5 years. Then he lost his house, car, and family. Today, the U.S. does the same. The U.S. national debt has surpassed $37 trillion. It's hard to even imagine. If you stacked that money in a stack of $100 bills, it would stretch from the Earth to the Moon and back 5 times. For every dollar the American economy produces, there is $1.30 in debt. The U.S. spends about $1 trillion a year on interest payments alone, more than the country's entire defense budget. The American debt is absolutely sustainable and under control. Ray Dalio. The debt cycle is coming to an end. When the cost of servicing the debt exceeds the economy's ability to service it, a collapse occurs. Would you keep your savings in dollars if you knew about this debt? De-dollarization of the global economy. Imagine that you sell your product only for certain chips, and everyone accepts them because they believe that these chips can always be exchanged for something valuable. But what happens if people suddenly stop believing in the value of your chips? Over the past 20 years, the dollar's share of international reserves has fallen from 71% to 59%. This is not just statistics, it is a tectonic shift. The BRICS Plus countries are actively creating alternative payment systems to the dollar. Saudi Arabia, which for decades sold oil only for dollars, now makes transactions in yuan. Stanley Druckenmiller: abusing the dollar as a weapon accelerates its decline. When you turn a currency into a political tool, you undermine its long-term value. Elon Musk: using the financial system as a weapon is a dangerous game. It's like turning off your opponent's lights but forgetting that you're plugged into the same power grid. What do you think will happen to your salary if the dollar ceases to be a global currency? Write in the comments. Inflation and the collapse of consumption. America is a consumer country. 70% of American GDP is created by Americans constantly buying things. But what if they can't anymore? Mark from Ohio is an engineer. His salary hasn't been raised in 10 years, and his mortgage eats up 60% of his income. He works 2 jobs to support his family. There are millions like him. Over the past 40 years, the real income of the middle class has hardly increased. At the same time, housing has become 290% more expensive, healthcare by 180%, education by 260%. Salaries have increased by only 15%. Today, the richest 1% of Americans control more wealth than the entire middle class combined. Warren Buffett: when those who produce goods and services no longer have enough money to buy them, the economy becomes unbalanced. We are seeing signs of this imbalance now. Do you feel like your purchasing power is decreasing every year? Deindustrialization and technological backgrowth. Remember the days when every product proudly boasted the words "Made in USA"? Today, you rarely see that label. The U.S. has lost its leadership in 10 of 15 key manufacturing sectors. The country that gave the world the automobile now imports auto parts. Apple's home country makes only a small fraction of its iPhones on its home turf. The U.S. imports 90% of its rare earth metals for electronics from China. Most of its advanced microchips are made in Taiwan. Once the world's innovation factory, China now outstrips America in patents in key tech areas, from artificial intelligence to quantum computing. Peter Thiel: we are witnessing technological stagnation in the real sector. We have learned how to create cool applications for smartphones, but have forgotten how to build skyscrapers and supersonic aircraft. Bill Gates: at a critical moment, you find that you don't control the most important elements of your economy. It's like building a house on someone else's land. Ask yourself, what would happen to America if Taiwan stopped supplying microchips? What would happen if China restricted its export of rare earth metals? Social and political instability. The economy is not only about graphs and numbers. It is, first and foremost, about people, their trust and cooperation. Today, America is experiencing an unprecedented crisis of trust. Trust in government has fallen from 70% in the 1960s to less than 20% today. Trust in the media is just 7%. Political polarization has reached such proportions that 42% of Americans consider supporters of the opposite party a threat to the well-being of the country. These are not just different opinions, they are different realities. Ray Dalio: the United States is in the 5th stage of empire, decline. This stage is characterized by internal conflicts, loss of cohesion, and economic decline. Howard Marks: the economy cannot prosper in a society where half the population considers the other half to be enemies. History shows that social conflicts always precede economic ones. Do you believe that the social divide in America can be overcome? Conflict and crisis, collapse scenarios. Each of these threats is serious on its own, but the real danger lies in their combination. Imagine several crises overlapping at once. What events could trigger a cascade of economic problems? Scenario 1: geopolitical crisis. Escalating tensions with China lead to economic sanctions against the U.S. China begins selling U.S. bonds in mass. The bond market collapses, interest rates skyrocket. Scenario 2. Debt collapse. Investors are losing faith in the U.S.'s ability to service its debt. Demand for U.S. bonds is falling, forcing the government to raise interest rates. High rates are strangling the economy. Scenario 3. Banking crisis. One major bank collapses due to risky investments. Panic spreads to other financial institutions. Trust in the banking system falls, and a massive withdrawal of deposits begins. What would the first 30 days of an American crisis look like? Day 1. Major bank declares insolvency. Stock exchanges collapse by 20%. Day 3. The government freezes bank accounts to prevent panic. The first clashes with the police take place on the streets. Day 7. The dollar is losing 30% of its value on international markets. Central banks around the world are urgently meeting. Day 14. There is a shortage of imported goods in stores. The first cases of looting. Day 21. Mass protests sweep across major cities. President addresses nation. Day 30. A state of emergency is declared and basic goods are rationed. The National Guard patrols the streets. Imagine yourself in this situation. You wake up, your card is blocked, ATMs are empty, shops are closed, and the news announces martial law. What will you do? Sound like a dystopia? Maybe, but many billionaires are already preparing for such scenarios by buying up real estate in remote regions and creating autonomous shelters. Do they know anything? Before you stock up on canned goods and gold bars, let's look at the other side of the coin. The American economy has strong factors of stability. The U.S. still has the most powerful military potential in the world, which provides a certain stability for the dollar. The United States' natural resources are impressive, from fertile farmland to vast oil and gas reserves. The country is energy self-sufficient. America's greatest asset is its innovative potential. Silicon Valley continues to generate breakthrough technologies. American universities remain world leaders in scientific research. The adaptability of American society should not be underestimated. The history of the United States is a history of overcoming crises, from the Great Depression to the financial crisis of 2008. Warren Buffett, "I never bet against America. That would be a bad bet." Mark Cuban, "The American innovation machine always finds a way out of a dead end." There are possible ways to renew the American economy: reindustrialization, investment in infrastructure and green energy, redistribution of wealth to strengthen the middle class, and reduction of the debt burden. But empires don't collapse overnight. They slowly disintegrate from within until suddenly they reach a point of no return. The United States stands at a crossroads. So what will happen to the American economy? A slow decline, a sharp collapse, or another revival? And most importantly, who will you be? An observer, a victim, or someone who is ready? In the next issue, we will tell you how to specifically protect your savings and prepare for the economic storm. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss it. In the meantime, write in the comments which country should we analyze next: Russia, China, the European Union? The most popular answer will determine the topic of the next video. Those who see a storm coming have a better chance of surviving it. Subscribe to know the truth first.